One of Canada's leading intellectuals has taken the following stance on this. And this is where I want to quote something for you. And it says, while some abuse and outright torture can be attributed to the sadism of individuals, poor supervision and so on, it must be the case that other acts of torture occur because interrogators believe, in good faith, that torture is the only way to extract information in a timely fashion. It must also be the case that if experienced interrogators come to this conclusion, they do so on the basis of their experience. The argument that torture and coercion do not work is contradicted by the dire frequency with which both practices occur. That is about similar to saying, let's go accuse someone of being a witch. If they float, they must be a witch, so we can burn them. And as a practice, we should still keep going because, hey, we did it for centuries. It must have worked. I mean, God, we found a lot of witches. Because the logic is circular and flawed. It's based upon the prejudice which so many people seem to have, and that is that torture can work. Well, I know it doesn't. I know from experience it doesn't. But what's even worse is the fact that there's a series of theories out there. Alan Dershowitz's ticking bomb theory. For one, i.e. that if you have information that is necessary, that if somebody has information about a bomb that's about to go off, you are justified in brutalizing them. Now, I am a practical man. I don't have a particular problem with engaging in certain morally repugnant acts if they will serve the greater good. I consider that war is a morally repugnant act, yet I know that it was necessary to fight in the Second World War. And I would have done so. Members of my family did. But torture is another matter. And to believe that torture is actually going to get you to the truth and that you can engage in a morally repugnant act and justify it because it's going to give you the truth that you're going to get timely information about a bomb that's just about to go off is a fallacy. Why? Because people who are being tortured can resist for a few days, and if the timing is that critical, you're going to mess up in the first place. Secondly, unless you already know that what you're looking for and you know that you've got the right person, which you don't in these circumstances, you're going to be making a mistake. But worse is that still continuing acceptance of torture as an effective means of intelligence gathering. Because another quote from the same individual, if they are right, then those who support an absolute ban on torture and stress and duress had better be honest enough to admit that moral prohibition comes at a price. It is possible, at least in theory, that subjecting interrogators to rules that outlaw torture and coercive interrogation, backed up by punishment if they go too far, will create an interrogation regime that allows some interrogation subjects to resist divulging information and to prevent our intelligence services from timely access to information that may save lives. Frankly, that is the biggest load of bullshit I have ever had to read in my life. If the information is that time sensitive, any experienced military interrogator will tell you you're not going to get the information out of them by torture. Yet, if you torture them, you're also going to get bad information, which is going to lead you to the wrong place. And if you know you've got the guy, as I've already said, and I will keep saying, if you know you've got the guy in your hands, and you know what he's done, you don't need to torture him. And yet our governments justify it. And yet our governments sign treaties like the United Nations Convention Against Torture, but refuse to support the victims of torture such as myself. They engage or assist in the rendition of suspects. They arrest somebody in London, and that person may find themselves in Guantanamo or in Kazakhstan. They lift somebody at an airport in Nigeria. He ends up being flown to Guantanamo, then back to Egypt. Transited through countries like the United States, Canada, Great Britain, Sweden, France, Spain. All of these countries operate in a culture of denial on this issue. They claim not to torture, they claim not to believe in it, but behind the scenes they say, oh, there are special circumstances, and then indulge in the practice of illegal, extraordinary rendition, and then claim that they don't. While at the same time leaving people such as myself, James Cottle, Alexander Mitchell, Mohammed Beg, and others to have to bear the physical scars of their mistaken policies and their refusal to properly deal with those countries that practice torture as a regular right. And many times they're able to practice it as a regular right because our own countries, this country, Canada, the United States, Britain, are actually in collusion with the very governments that practice torture. and they keep saying they don't believe in it, but then they argue that they do. And I personally wonder at what point the citizens of our countries are going to wake up and realize that in your name, unspeakable acts of barbarity are being condoned, are being undertaken. They don't make you safer. They don't protect you against acts of terrorism. They don't add to an accurate intelligence picture about what is going on amongst our enemies or those that wish to harm us. What they do is they morally harm our society. They act as a recruiting drum for those that actually want to attack us. And they show the hypocrisy that we live in our societies. Not a particularly pleasant topic for this early in the morning, but it's also not particularly pleasant for the thousands of people I know that I've left behind. I'm free. I got drunk as a skunk last night, all right? But I also know right now there is someone chained upright, bleeding, and somebody may be justifying it in your name. Thank you.